From the Buena Vista Social Club to Celia Cruz and Gloria Estefan, music has always been one of Cuba's greatest sources of cultural pride and communication. After 5 decades of separation, Cuban artists on the island and in exile find it still has the power to bring them together. In fact, local artist and producer Decimer Bueno recently discovered that modern technology can unify their voices, resounding oceans apart.
I'm learning that the Cuban musician is always, it's always coming a new generation of Cuban musicians with a lot of message.
Cuban exile Luis Bofil hasn't been home in nearly 2 decades, but Bueno's ingenuity helped him to produce this album with musicians in Havana thanks to a Pro Tools system Bueno provided to renowned artist and producer Roberto Carcases in Havana.
When I send some material through internet, they have the possibility to record it over the tracks and sending from USA to Havana.
But the process isn't necessarily that direct. Cuba's server and internet system isn't always strong enough to move heavy music files. When these producers aren't able to meet up in person, they depend on collaborators in countries like Spain and Mexico who can travel to Cuba and move the tracks back and forth by internet and servers in their home countries. The end result for a musician like Bofil?
He doesn't know the trumpet player, he doesn't know the conga player, but I'm pretty sure that he's enjoying in the same way that he would be in Havana.
This is amazing, really. I don't expect, to make these things, the Cuban inside and the Cuban outside, But for me, it was really, really, really amazing.
So does this minimize the impact the embargo has on the Cuban people? A New York-based Cuban troubadour and professor of Cuban literature is an expert on her own generation of artists.
The embargo has a real impact, but I think what is more important is that these experiences of Decimer and other musicians are curbing or are healing the psychological embargo, which is more dangerous, I think, than the real embargo.
The musicians agree.
I think it's a humanist,
We want to keep our friendship, It's something we defend.
But it's the star of the album who's really pushing that concept.
It's an act of freedom, We have freedom to be ourselves, to be Cubans.
In February, Cuban artists from around the world shared the stage at Miami's Global Cuba Fest. But politics make it difficult for most of Cuba's artists to come here. The show's promoters have been presented with an innovative way around that for next year's performance. 2 Los Angeles film and theater directors will be using modern means to break down decades-old barriers.
You can have the story about 2 countries that are very separated by politics, but we will find through the art and technology we can make that happen. And this is wonderful.
He's referring to a multimedia play called The Closest Farthest Away. It uses video projections to put actors in Cuba and actors in the United States on the same stage. The goal? Buck the embargo.
If you could be anywhere in the world right now, doing anything you wanted, what would it be?
The play is the brainchild of American filmmaker Sage Lewis and theatrical director Chi Wang Yong.
But I'd rather be your friend.
It tells the love story of an American man in the United States and a woman in her native Cuba to symbolize the historic separation between our two countries.
It's about people in the United States and Cuba who realize that they have all these relationships with each other and all these connections, but they can't remember where they're from or why.
The storyline is full of symbolism, but so is the play's production.
My name is Sage Lewis.
Lewis and Young visited Havana several times to record images of Havana's colorful city streets and tape the Cuban characters' dialogue.
I remember finding this coin, though.
American actors will interact on stage with videos of Cuba-based characters. You're watching the stage from the American side. The crowd behind the stage is in Cuba. The play will premiere at Havana's International Film Festival in December. Then it will come to Miami for the 2010 Global Cuba Fest.
A goal of the project is to create a play that's not leading with the political issues. There are other people and organizations that talk about our countries in that way. And what we're actually interested in is communicating through the arts.
That's a welcome concept for this Cuban exile.
I think it's symbolic of the real desire that there is for communication between both cultures.
People between the ages of 25 and 40 have mostly opted to immigrate or remain silent.
When 32-year-old Cuban Yoani Sanchez blogs about grocery shopping, it's not to talk about organic produce or free-range chicken. Her blog, Generation Y, won her a spot in Time magazine's 100 Most Inspiring People of 2007. That's because she writes about the lack of basics lining the shelves of government food stores and the government she blames for hindering democracy and a sustainable economy. In December, police warned her not to keep writing, but she hasn't listened.
I'm scared to death. The thing is, fear doesn't paralyze me. It makes me run straight ahead.
Her bold stand has sparked an increase in blog activity among Cubans her age, a generation whose identity is fragmented by migration across the globe. From Madrid to Miami to Matanzas, Cuban bloggers and web journalists are using the web to reconnect with their past and discuss solutions for the future of their mother country.
That's how we congregate, that's how we're in so many different places in the world.
Here at this Hialeah Mall, a handful of young Cuban exiles have created the blog Generation Acere, a worldwide forum for diverse political dialogue. Participants who fear reprisals can enter the site with code names or on a first-name basis, just like Tony and Mailing, the blog's creators.
We are open to everybody to express their ideas. And we're different, we have many colors.
Miami journalist Yvette Leiva has no interest in returning home, but she's fully committed to repairing the Cuban people's splintered society on the island and in exile. In 2000, she helped pioneer the Madrid-based website Cuba Encuentros, one of the first online forums for Cuban political dialogue.
Many other websites or media here in Miami at that time were very biased. They would disregard opinions or even the creations or the literary creations or music creations of people in the island.
Some of these websites are blocked in Cuba, but bloggers say they find ways around that.
I make copies in CD. I have a copy of my blogs that I update each week and I distribute in a memory flash. I also print. There are lots of ways, and I know of people who live outside of Cuba who send my texts by email to family out there.
So, is it a push for democracy?
I would say that it's pluralism, that it's creating new ways of communication between people.
We're trying to change from the monologue to dialogue, and we're trying to interact with each other.